Greetings, and welcome to another episode coming to you from the Thought Exchange Cafe, where we bring you education, not entertainment, where we bring you ordinary people from the community doing extraordinary things, from our elderly, and I don't call them elderly, I call them oracles, to our young folks that are doing amazing things in the community. And as I talked about, or as I shared in the last episode, that we're going to have guests that's going to be coming in very, very soon. And our first guest is going to be the Reverend Bishop Hamby and First Lady Sandra Hamby. And they will be here this week. And we're going to be talking about the School of Wisdom. However, tonight's show is titled, Who Am I to Judge? And my name is Tony Davis, and I'll be your host. And I'm asking, and I'm also thanking those that have been following me here on the Thought Exchange Cafe as we continue to build and continue to grow. And I cannot grow without you. So I'm asking that you continue to support the Thought Exchange Cafe, support what we do here, and send in your comments, but also let us know some of the content that you would like to hear, or if the content that is being shared with you resonates with you. Because once again, it's about education. It's about growing. It's about getting to another level at life. It doesn't matter how old you are. As long as you have a breath in your body, and God wakes you up in the morning and allow you to open up your eyes and see the light of day, then you have another opportunity, but also you have another page in your book to begin to write. You write your page. Don't let someone else write the page for you. Because if they write the page for you, they're going to put in their own narrative. And if you have dreams and goals, you can't tell everybody your dreams and goals, because if they can't see it for themselves, they're surely enough not going to see it for you. And on top of that, they're not going to paint your picture as wide and as big as you would paint your picture. They're going to minimize your picture and make their picture that much bigger. So that way it will overweigh your picture. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you've been through, or what you're going through. Because keep this in mind, right? Every one of us that is walking on this planet, from the poorest to the richest, are going through something internally. All of us as human beings are going through some type of internal battle. And I may not know what that next person is going through. You may not know what that next person is going through. So when we meet someone, and if they're not smiling, they're frowning, don't take it personal. Because when we take it personal, what are we doing? We're judging. And that's why the title of tonight's show is, Who Am I to Judge? And I want to get right into it. There's going to be a couple things I'm going to touch on tonight. And one of them is going to be careful about making snap judgments or quick decisions about people you know nothing about. The next will be upon this journey. And I want to start out with angel number 316. And if you are listening and tuning in to the Thought Exchange Cafe, I'm going to urge you to look up angel number 316. And this is what angel number 316 says. Angel number 316 is often interpreted as a message to trust in divine guidance regarding your life's purpose. It encourages maintaining a positive mindset as your thoughts and actions are creating your reality, prompting a release of fear or lack. It is frequently linked with spiritual reassurance, balance, and trust in the universe's support. I'm going to tell you a little story about what happened to me on my way to on my way to work this morning. On my way to work this morning, I stopped off at Dunkin' Donuts to grab a cup of coffee. And at this particular Dunkin' Donuts, I used to go to all the time, but it got too crowded and my time became more important than waiting in a line 20 minutes for a cup of coffee. So I decided to find another coffee shop where I can go in and come back out because if you've been listening and following me here on the Thought Exchange Cafe, I talked about what it is that I do in the morning in order to get balanced for the day. I have a quiet place that I visit every morning, and I spend about a half an hour to 45 minutes there. I pray, meditate, and I journal. And some days I get to read a little bit before I get off into all the noise of of the life that I got to get into that day. You know, between traffic, between the clients, and making 1,001 decisions. I have to balance myself out in the morning and prepare myself for that because if I don't prepare myself for it, I'm not going to respond. I'm going to be very reactive. And what I mean by being reactive, someone cuts me off in traffic. What do? I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get mad. I'm going to act out. And I'm going to carry that. I'm going to carry that with me. But when I go to this quiet place and I pray and I meditate, and when something like that happens, I can ask myself a question. If I carry this with me during the course of the day, what am I doing with my energy? Who am I giving it to? And is this going to last forever? Or am I going to forget it tomorrow? I'm going to forget it tomorrow, so I might as well not even think about it. Let me just stay balanced and let me stay focused on what it is that I have to do. So anyway, getting back to the story, I decided to go to this Dunkin' Donuts this morning. And I really don't know why I decided to go there. I just went and I followed my intuition. And upon walking into the Dunkin' Donuts this morning, it was pretty empty. It was only 3 people in there, well, 2 including myself. And I greeted a gentleman that I would see there almost every morning. And like I said, I haven't visited this place in a while, but I decided to visit it today to grab my cup of coffee. And I usually just grab a cup of coffee. And after I get my coffee, I go back out, get in my vehicle, and off to work I go. But for some reason this morning, something said to me, grab a muffin. And I usually don't even eat the muffins. But I grabbed the muffin and I asked him to heat the muffin. And after I got my coffee and I got the muffin, I wanted to leave. But something said, no, Tony, just go have a seat for a moment. Go sit down, drink your coffee, and enjoy your muffin. And I went and I sat at the little booth that they have by the window there. And there was this gentleman on the left of me. And I'm looking over at this gentleman, and my mind was ready to make a snap judgment of who he was because he had some tattoos on his hand. He didn't look too clean. And my mind started to paint these pictures of this individual. And in my mind, I'm saying he's going to ask me, is he going to ask me for some money? Is he going to, who is this guy? And I had to stop myself from thinking that way because why am I giving that my energy? Why am I judging this individual and I don't even know this person? And furthermore, right? What if that was me? Would I want someone to have those same thoughts that I was having of him, of me? Of course not. I would not. And I don't know, for some reason, a conversation, we started conversating with one another. And in the conversation, we started talking about the weather, actually, it being cold. And he started the conversation. He said, "It's cold outside." He said, "Yes, it is cold outside." And then we started talking, and come to find out, this gentleman has been on a walk from Canada. He's walking from Canada across the country, from what he had said to me. And he revealed to me that on this walk, he had a car, and he sold his car, or he gave his car to charity for some homeless people. And for some reason, I felt it and I believed him. And then we started talking about we started talking about spiritual beliefs. We started talking about frequency, energy, and vibration. And he began to tell me some things about me. He began to talk about some things that I've been reading, that I've been studying. He knew nothing. He wasn't there with me. But he began to tell me about these things. And I was a little awestruck. I was a little like, wow, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And he started talking about the angels. He started talking about the ancestors and how the ancestors were always with him on this walk. He started talking about when he needed something, it was always there. He said when he started this walk, he started with no money. And he sleeps outside, and he only goes to the shelters to deliver a message. And for me, I'm listening, and I'm looking at this man. And this man seemed so free. So free. He didn't have a worry. He didn't have no fears. And before the conversation ended, he took out a dice out of his pocket. And he said, "I'm going to show you something." He said, "Look in my eyes." I looked in his eyes, and he blew on the dice. And he rolled the dice. And the first number that came up was a 3. He rolled the dice again. The second number was a 1. The last number was a 6. And he said, "These are your angel numbers." And he says, "This is what this means, 316. 316 is often interpreted as a message to trust in divine guidance regarding your life's purpose. It encourages maintaining a positive mindset as your thoughts and actions are creating your reality, prompting a release of fear or lack. It is frequently linked with spiritual reassurance, balance, trust in the universe's support. Over the last few months, it's been kind of hard. And certain things I talk about and certain things I express here on the Thought Exchange Cafe, and certain things I do not express here on the Thought Exchange Cafe. But I've been on this journey. I've been on this spiritual journey, asking the divine spirit for some guidance, asking the divine spirit to strengthen me, to guide me, to open up my eyes, to allow me to see. Because I believe there's much, much more for me to do. And I'm seeking that. What is it? But in the midst of all that, I also heard that which you seek is already seeking you, and what is written shall come to pass. And to meet this gentleman today and to sit next to him, and once again, I usually get my coffee and go right out the door and get in my vehicle and go about my business. But for some strange reason today, I was not able to do that. And I sat down and I talked to this gentleman for quite some time. I would at least say it was about a half an hour. I sat and I talked with this young man. I didn't want to get up and leave and go to work. I wanted to continue the conversation because of the value that I was receiving from this individual that I was making snap judgments about just that quickly because of what he had on, the tattoos on his hand. And lo and behold, this gentleman, I believe, and I believe this in my heart, the gentleman was put there for a reason and for a purpose. And that reason and that purpose was to deliver me a message today. Because, yes, I've been asking the divine spirit for some guidance. Yes, I've been going through a battle. I've been going through some inner turmoil. I've been going through some exterior battles just as well, too. And in my seeking, as the Bible says, seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened. Ask and it shall be given unto you. Have I been doing that with more faith? Have I been backing that up, that burning desire, with that little mustard seed of faith? Have I been living it have I been living in expectancy of what I've asked the universe for? I believe this was just confirmation. And that this gentleman was sent not from another person, but it was he was sent there, and I was driven to go there today. I was directed to go to this Dunkin' Donuts today to get that coffee, to get that muffin, which I usually don't eat their muffins, and sit at that particular spot so I can have this conversation with this young man today in order for that to be revealed to me. Because in the Bible, it's John 3:16. I urge you to go and check it out for yourself, as well as check out what the angel number is for 3:16 and what its meaning is. And as I'm reading it, I'll read it again. 3:16 is often interpreted as a message to trust in divine guidance regarding your life's purpose. It encourages maintaining a positive mindset as your thoughts and actions are creating your reality, prompting a release of fear or lack. It is frequently linked with spiritual reassurance, balance, and trust in the universe's support. And as I titled this show, Who Am I to Judge? That's the title of this show. I'm going to have more reassurance in the universe. I'm going to allow my thoughts to be more positive and maintain greater positive thoughts. But I'm going to be careful about those thoughts about the people that I meet or the people that I see, and making quick and snap judgments about someone else that I know nothing about. And as someone else said, just recently that everyone's going through something, rich or poor. Don't judge them. Don't judge who they are or where they're coming from, what they look like, what they have on or what they may not have on. Because we don't know, and I don't know who they are or the message that they carry with them. If they're smiling, let me not ask what is behind that smile. Let me just smile with them, because maybe that's all they need, someone to smile with them, or they smiling because I'm frowning inside, and it's going to allow me to smile just as well too, to release some of those things that I'm carrying behind that smile. And going on to the next, upon this journey, I was talking to an Oracle client of mine. And as I said, I don't call the retired. I don't call people that, I don't call them retired or elderly. I call them oracles. I do. Why? Because they're walking library. They are a walking thesaurus. Stories, they have many. And they're real life stories. It's not coming from theory or a book. It's coming from something that they lived. They've lived through some amazing times. They've seen some things. They've talked to some people. And the same things that we're seeing today. Can you imagine the things that they have seen? And for them to still be here today, then yes, they are walking library. They're someone that we can utilize and go to and get some information on how to overcome some of the hurdles, how to climb some of those mountains, how to prepare for it. And as they say, it's best to be prepared for an opportunity than get an opportunity and not be prepared. And how do we prepare? We go to those people who've already been there so they can help us to get ready for what is to come. They may not be able to give us all the information, but some information is better than no information. And there's also a saying that says, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. I'm going to read you something out of the Kabbalion, and it is going to resonate with the content that I just shared. And this book, the Kabbalion, Hermetic Philosophy by the Three Initiates. I shared this little book on another episode, a past episode. On the back of the book, it reads, "Oh, let not the flame die out. Cherished age after age, in its dark cavern, in its holy temples cherished, fed by pure ministers of love. Let not the flame die out." And this is the principle of rhythm. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This principle embodies the truth that in everything there is manifested a measured motion, to and fro, a flow and inflow, a swing backward and forward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and low tide, between the two poles which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity described a moment ago. There is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This is the affairs of the universe. Suns, worlds, men, animals, mind, energy, and matter. This law is manifest in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life of all things, and finally in the mental states of man. And it is with this latter that the Hermetists find the understanding of the principle most important. Rhythm. Everything has a rhythm. Everything has a flow, including you and I. In the events that I described earlier, with meeting this young man at the Dunkin' Donuts and doing and following my intuition. By following my intuition, I was able to get delivered a message. I believe a message of reassurance, a message of hope, a message of there's something greater awaiting for you and I. We fight battles on a daily basis, and some of those battles are not for us to fight. And as going back to what it says in the Bible, that some of the battles are not ours to fight. Some of those battles, we just have to observe and watch them and become observers in order to prepare us for the next battle that's coming. Because as it says in the Kabbalion about rhythm, everything has a rhythm. There's an inflow, there's an outflow. Everything has its ebb and flow. There's a high tide, there's a low tide. In closing, I'm going to read another quote. And this quote is by Stephen Hawkins. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. Means that believing you already know everything can be more harmful than not knowing at all. Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute. Picture this. Picture yourself knowing everything there was to know or everything there is to know. Picture that. Picture you're the smartest one in the room. Picture there's nothing else that you need to get to know. You've learned everything there is to learn. The universe can give you nothing because you have it all. Picture that. What are you going to do? Is it time for you to lay down and close your eyes and say, oh, well, it is done. I've gained everything there is to be gained here. And I can't learn nothing from anybody, even that person that I judged. Judge not, lest ye be judged. In closing, I just want to urge you to ask yourself, who am I to judge? In the society we live in today, there is no more good morning, good afternoon, how you doing? May I help you with your bag? May I hold the door for you? There's no more of that. We live in a selfish society today. And not saying that you don't, because sometimes you have to be selfish in order to protect your most valuable asset, which is your mind. Sometimes you have to be selfish in order to protect your energy. But what I'm saying is, let's not be so selfish, right? That we can't say good morning, that we can't greet someone. What is it to offer someone a mere cup of coffee? A cup of coffee. Hello, how you doing? Good morning. May I hold the door for you? I don't have to know you, and you don't have to know me. But one thing we do know, right, is that we're human. We're human. We don't have to be in a robotic state because there's enough of them already out there. We don't have to become that. And remember this, you are enough. And you don't have to become anyone else. Because guess what? Everyone else is already taken. You are you for a reason. And if you're on this spiritual journey, you're on this path, doing the best you can to find out what is your purpose in life. And you may have already discovered what your true purpose in life is. But have you thought about, is there something other just as well too? Because I believe there is much, much more. Why was I created? Why was you created? Were we created just to be workers? Were we created to shun one another? As human beings, we're supposed to make connections with one another. But because of those things that we learn behaviors, we begin to make snap judgments of others. We begin to separate ourselves from others because of things that we've heard, things that we see. That division, that divide. But that division and that divide keeps us from our spiritual ascending. But there's also descending. There's ascending and there's descending. And we can only ascend. And this is something I learned about me. Let me bring it full circle. When I wanted to ascend and rise higher, I had to descend in other areas of thought. That negative thought, that negative picture that I was painting of myself, that negative picture that I was painting of someone else by judging that other person and not knowing that person, but judging that person by something that I was taught in the environment that I was around, that I was in. Their shoes, their hair, their eyes, the color of their skin, where they lived, what they drive, what they didn't drive. And for me, that brought about fear, anger, jealousy. And guess what? I couldn't ascend with that. I couldn't ascend. I couldn't rise higher. Because I was looking at all those exterior things that truly didn't mean nothing. Because they don't. What is it to gain the world but to lose your soul? And I can talk about that because I expressed it on one of the past episodes of the Thought Exchange Cafe. And giving God thanks to still be on this journey today of ascending by descending from those things that meant me no good. It just became weight. Imagine this. Imagine jogging, right? Imagine jogging or going to jump over some hurdles, and you put a backpack on your back with rocks in it, but you're trying to jump over those hurdles. You'll never make it. You'll never make it. You'll never be able to rise higher or jump over those hurdles until you release that backpack with them rocks and your weight becomes lighter. And that's what I'm talking about for myself, being able to ascend by descending and letting go of some things in order to rise higher in a spiritual consciousness and an awakening of self. It's not the easiest thing to do because that reasoning mind always wants to send you back or send me back to that comfortable state. But once again, going back to the title of the show, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? If you judge, lest you be judged. In closing, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Thought Exchange Cafe. And I would ask you to just speak to someone. Say hello. Say good morning. Open the door for them. Just randomly buy somebody a cup of coffee. Randomly, just buy them a cup of coffee. Because as I say, when you pay it forward, you're obeying a universal law. Because this thing that we talk about, the universe, we talk about God, we talk about energy, frequency, and vibration. But we were taught to overlook those things, at least I was. And I became so obsessed with all the outside things, those material things that truly meant nothing. But, and the gentleman talked about, here was something deep, right? And I'm just going to expound on it just a little bit, and then I'm going to close. The gentleman started talking about energy, start talking about how you have to go and work, right? You got to go and work to buy this car. So you're putting out this energy. Now you have to work to pay the car note and the car insurance. And he said, it's fake, invisible insurance. But you're putting energy forth that you can't get back to pay these things. Then you're paying your mortgage and you need a place to live, right? But you're always giving energy to these exterior things. We need a car to get around with. Yes, you do. You need some transportation, right? But I get what he was saying. What he was saying is that be careful of those things that you give your attention to. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you expect to reach a higher plane or ascend to a higher place in consciousness, and in this thing that we call life, because I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I haven't reached my peak yet. And as the title says, who am I to judge? Because if you judge me now, you judge me prematurely because I haven't shown all my stuff yet. And that's just like me judging the next person that I see. And I don't know nothing about that person. I don't know nothing about their history. I don't know nothing about their present. I don't know nothing about their future. So who am I to judge? Once again, my name is Tony Davis, coming to you from the Thought Exchange Cafe. And if anything resonated with you from this podcast, this podcast, please comment and share. And once again, thank you for your time and continue to support the Thought Exchange Cafe. Thank you. And until next time, peace, joy, blessings, and abundance unto you.